And we are live. Hello, everyone. Happy 4th of July to everyone in the States. And well, I mean, in Canada, it's 4th of July as well. Um, Welcome to another episode of Watch Soup. And I am one of your co hosts. My name is Bobby Legs from the Bobby Legs YouTube channel. And my co host is here, Sanjay from the Engineer
Hello.
Wannabe channel. Sanjay, how are you today, man? And what do you got on rest?
Very good. Been a busy day, been a busy weekend, but doing well. Enjoying the dying embers of Sunday.
Wow, so poetic.
Yeah. On my wrist is Seiko Spb
Ooh,
213.
I like that one, man.
Yeah,
That's a recent acquisition, no?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think I've already asked
Before,
you that. Sorry.
no, that's okay. Before the Nectin, um, so I don't even know. They're all kind of blended in together
Yeah,
now.
right. Totally, man. Um, and tonight we have a guest star here, a guest panelist, Torrin from the Everyday Watch Guy YouTube channel. Torrin, thanks for
Hey,
joining
Bobby.
us, man. I love your channel. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I love your channel as well, and I
Oh, thanks, man.
appreciate the invitation. I'm
No,
good.
no problemo, man. What do you have on wrist, man?
Yeah, today I have my Grand Seiko. It's the SPGN 0. There we go.
Yep.
003. Yeah, just
Very
such an
nice.
easy wearing watch. I really like it.
Yeah, is that quartz or is that
Yeah,
manual?
it's the 9F course. So.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, man, you guys, I mean, I can't believe how like, well, I guess I can't. I mean, I'm always surprised when people um have Grand Seiko, and I shouldn't be surprised, right? I guess maybe so because I don't really see them every day, right? But like watch enthusiasts that I know, like are really a lot of them are really really into Grand Seiko. Is that your only Grand Seiko, or have you had other Grand Seikos, or do you have multiple Grand Seikos?
For a while, I had multiple, but I recently sold the other one I had was the SPGA 231. It
Yeah,
was the spring drive titanium dive watch,
right,
which I
right.
did enjoy, but it was a little redundant in my collection. I just found this one is such a good grab and go watch, and I had
Yeah,
other divers. So
yeah. Awesome, man. I guess the reason why I'm talking about it is that I'm kind of curious about the Grand Seiko. Like I think I may want to add one of these days, like sooner than later. I had this the Presage Cocktail Time,
Mhm.
the Star Bar version, and what it reminded me of the hands and the polishing, even on at that level, was I thought pretty good. And I remember when I had the Starb 033, how I liked the hands and I can imagine like stepping up to the Grand Seiko is just going to another level with the polishing. And I don't know, I just really like those Dauphine hands, the way that Seiko and Grand Seiko do, how they do it. And it's oof, man, it's a beautiful watch. Anyway, um, I got the Aqua Dive Poseidon
Really?
GMT. Such a fun. Like when I look at this watch, I think summer, and maybe it's because of the color and the band. But I
Is that
wore
an
this all.
isoframe strap?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it comes with the ISO frame. It came with the yellow and the black. Um, and this one has the vanilla smell. The black one, I don't think I haven't. Well, I haven't taken it out of the box, but such a I don't know, fun little summer, not little, but fun summer watch for sure. Um, Before we get started, let's dive into the chat and see how everybody's doing. Megan's here today. She's first giving herself, and Wayne the cat is also here apparently, giving herself some gold medals here for being first on the chat. B Dev is here. Hey B Dev, I'm sorry guys. It looks like I'm getting a little bit of a delay here on my end, so I apologize. Wolfgang is number 3. Hey Blue Shirt, how are you? Justin's here. What's going on? Wilson, what's up, my man? And Chaz going emoji crazy. Happy Independence Day. Oh, thanks, Chaz. Hey, Peter, what's going on? Amin from the Amin Reviews YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked out his channel, please do so as well. Sam is here, Sands of Tyne, all the way from Australia. You guys are in Canada. Sam's in Australia. People all over the world are tuning in. I'm always tickled. I'm always tickled when I come to that, when I realize that. I know it's so silly, right, Sanjay?
No, not silly.
Hey,
You got
Bill, how you
Will Hall of
doing?
Fame, so yeah, it's good.
JCB's here. Wilson with the Torin chant there. ID guy, yeah, thank you. Happy 4th to you as well. Kevin S is here. Caliber is here. Let's scroll down. Junior Johnson, what's up, man? Kelvin Dale, what's up, man? Here live this time. Thanks, man.
That's 3 Australians.
Wow, awesome. I mean, this is great. I love it. Matthew, what's up? Thank you for joining us. Scroll down here a little bit more, and Young Excellency, what's going on? What's going on here? How does Bobby not have more than 2K in subscribers? Hey, it gets there, Kevin. Once in a while, I mean, some people hit faster than others, and it'll happen. It'll happen. Wesley's here. What's up, Wesley? Okay, so not too many comments last week on ours. People leave some comments, please, on our videos on this Watch Soup. We'd love to read them out and give people some shout outs. So we'll go straight into reviews, and this is Sanjay's segment. Sanjay, kick it off, man.
Yeah, I guess there wasn't too many reviews out there this week. I don't know if it was because of the whole drama going on, but
what happened this week? What was going on?
I don't know.
What drama are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. I am sick of hearing about something, but
okay.
But yeah, I don't know if it's related or if it's just a review drought, but there was an interesting review from WatchChris. He mentioned this Happy Watch company, and there was a bit of controversy there too. If you guys don't know, this Happy Watch is an interesting watch, kind of an homage to the Konstantin Chaikin Joker watch. So it tells the time with 2 different quartz movements. One quartz movement will tell the hours on one eye. The other quartz movement will tell the hour or the minutes in the other eye. So it's an interesting watch. A square watch, so kind of looks a bit like the Apple Watch, maybe a bit of Nomos Tetra vibe to it. And there's a whole slew of them. So it's kind of like a fashion watch, and it's kind of affordable, like a cheaper watch as well. But the interesting part was that they tried to get WatchChris to sign a contract saying that the reviews will be favorable, that he would actually give them the right of refusal, so to speak, from posting the video if they didn't like it. So yeah, I mean, kind of a black stain on a watch that would have been quite interesting. If they had better business practices, maybe I would have been somewhat tempted to purchase one, because they're kind of affordable, as a fun everyday watch, fun beater watch. Maybe it would have been something that would have been interesting, but the bad business practices, maybe not so much. Right. So that was one of the reviews. The other one is slipping me, and
Random Rob.
Yes, thank you. Is the 18 karat gold Tudor Black Bay 58 from Random Rob. That was interesting. It wasn't really a review. Again, from Random Rob, it was kind of more of a overview and a closer look at a watch, kind of like a realistic look at it. I find Random Rob's videos really useful for that. Kind of if you don't have the ability to go to an AD and take a look at it, the way he holds it and stuff gives us that impression, kind of like a Tim Mosso video as well. You kind of get that feeling of holding the watch. So a really valuable look at a Tudor Black Bay 58 in 18 karat gold. And man, it does look good on that NATO single pass with the green with the gold stripe. I don't know, something about it's really nice.
Yeah,
I really like it more than the silver, but it is egregiously priced. Did you guys have any thoughts about those 2 watches?
Yeah, just on the pricing, I was going to say, for the price of that one, you could actually own the rest of the Black Bay line.
Right.
So
that's true.
Absolutely. Torn, do you have any other thoughts before I jump in?
no, I didn't actually see Random Rob's review, but I'll actually look back and check it out because I did want to see like someone's like a watch enthusiast impression of the watch, not just a sales pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
So other than like Rob's review, like the watch, the gold Black Bay 58 is still a little lost on me.
Yeah.
A little you know what I mean? Like it's just for $18K, and I get it, it's gold, but man, even the fact that it's gold, man, I'd rather have like an overseas. And if I can get like a Vacheron overseas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, the Black Bay 58 was something like a piece that a really nice, great looking diver, luxury, affordable, right? I mean, you can compare it to the Submariner ways. Look, I mean, it's not necessarily an apples and apples comparison with the Submariner, but if you couldn't afford the Submariner, and you did like the Black Bay 58, the way they looked, the sizing, the snowflake hands, man, this is a great option for like more than half the price. So like their target audience is, with this 18 karat, like it's a little bit lost on me. You know what I mean? It's lost on me. So I don't know. I don't get it. I'm not crazy about the exhibition case back either. They're saving on gold, right? I mean, but the movement is nothing to write home about. I mean, looks wise, I'll tell you what, the silver is growing on me. I wasn't a big fan of it initially, but the silver is growing on me. I kind of do like the bronze one, and that makes sense. That makes sense in that price range to go that way. So the 18 karat gold is just like, it's just a matter of taste. I'm just not into it. The overview was great by Rob, but I don't know. And then in regards to the other watch, the WatchChris, I mean, dude, I appreciate Chris's honesty, especially when he was talking about the bracelet. He's like, there's an upcharge of $70 on that bracelet. He's like, you can find the same bracelet on Amazon for 30. You know what I mean? So I appreciate him calling out and being honest and telling us what's going on with this. That's also been a hot button issue lately about honesty from reviewers when they've been given watches and whatnot. We had a little bit of drama that a couple of weeks ago that came before the current drama that's going on now in the watch community. So I like Chris, and he's going to actually be here next week with us, joining us. So looking forward to that as well. Let's see here what the crowd says. Hey, Nilo, thanks for joining us. Justin, sorry, I only subscribe to miserable watches. Can't abide happiness in horology. That's awesome. Winding my account here, 2 quartz movements makes me want to ignore it twice. That's funny, man. Okay, let's scroll down here.
They could put 2 7s, 2 6s in there.
Yeah. Brandon always gives great overviews of watches, all the pertinent info and no fluff. And I like the way you described it, Sanjay, that the way he holds it, it is more like an overview if you can't make it to the AD, kind of like how Maso does. That's the kind of thing that we expect from Rob these days. I mean, it's just great stuff.
Yeah, I find that Maso's reviews does kind of try and sell it to you, though. Like, I don't think he really stuff, right?
Of course, you're right, but he balances it out with great information, right? Much more like I'll use his videos most of the time as a reference when I'm looking up watches, just because I know he's going to sell it to me, but he's going to give me a nugget of information that probably nobody else will give me. So there is a balance, but you're right. I mean, more so, obviously Rob is not selling watches, but Tim is. So I get it.
Yeah.
Kevin asks, perhaps another car wreck, and Sanjay trades all his watches for the 18 karat gold Tudor. That's quite possible.
Yeah.
For 18K, Bobby will get another Kadoki. I could get maybe 2 Kadokis. Almost. Don't worry, we'll all get to you. We'll all get you to see the light, Bobby. Okay. Maybe on the Black Bay 58 18 karat gold. Maybe is that what he's talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Or in the Grand Seiko. I don't know.
Or in the Grand Seiko. That's true. Yeah.
Wolfgang's a big fan of the 18 karat gold.
Yeah, he is. And Grand Seiko. I think he likes Grand Seiko. I'd get the Bluesy or Yachtmaster for that price, right? I mean, you can get the Yachtmaster and have a few bucks in your pocket.
Yeah.
And the Yachtmaster is one of the most underrated, or even the most underrated sports watch in the Rolex lineup for sure. Where the Tiger, the Black Bay 58 was the Miata of the watch world. Okay. A little harsh. No bronze, just silver, no gold. BB58 Peter C. Straight with the comment there. We got it. Awesome.
I would have taken that Miata comment as a compliment. I love the MX-5.
How do you know about different types of Miatas and you've never seen The Godfather?
What?
How do you know so much about Miatas but yet never seen The Godfather?
Was the Miata in The Godfather?
No. It's just it's just like a random thing. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
All right. Masso's great info overload, always selling. Masso has a full info, but he's selling a watch. Okay. Pete, hey Pete, how you doing? I think Tim's showcasing is best with the sound off. Just gives me a view with nothing I can't get from a press release. Okay. Yep. I mean, look, this yes and no. I mean, I think there is sometimes that there is some information that that he gives that like I've never heard anybody give. You know what I mean? So
he's definitely got the voice and the vocabulary for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Over the watches. So.
He's very, very articulate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Who else says dial furniture except Tim Masso?
He makes me want to see it in my videos.
I mean, in my recent review, I said lug hole apertures. And I
remember for your Grand Seiko, yeah.
When I was editing the video, I was like, "What? Why did I say that?" I normally said drilled lugs.
I'm so gonna use lug hole apertures because you stole it from Tim. And now
I used it in one video too, and like I had a reviewer comment, and he was basically like hazing me for using it. He was like. I don't know. He was like, "Why don't you just use some other like fancy somatics for or something like that?"
Yeah. I'm gonna try. I'll use lug hole aperture next time, and then I'm gonna try to find fancier ways to say lug hole aperture in my oncoming videos. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna try my best.
There you go.
All right, so let's get into the meat potato, guys. Let's start off. Sanjay, you picked a video from Pete, Not So Obvious Watches, watch signatures that suck for some people. Tell us about this video.
Yeah, thoroughly entertaining video from Pete. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed his previous video too, which I wanted to feature last week, but didn't quite get to watching it, which was the one about the watch collectors, types of watch collectors. That was a really good video too. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out. But Pete was going through a few signatures from watch companies that a lot of people in the watch community don't like. And so what he did, which was really interesting, was he'd give an objective answer or a description of the signature, and then he would give a subjective answer, whether he liked it or not. So I'll go through the list. I have it right here. First one was the Breitling rider tabs. So like in the Avenger, I think, and the Chronomat, they kind of had these tabs at the cardinal points. So a lot of people apparently don't like that. I didn't know this was an issue, but apparently people don't like it. The second one is definitely a big one with the Omega helium escape valve on the Planet Oceans and the Seamaster Professionals. Third one was another big one, the Rolex Cyclops. Fourth one was the Grand Seiko Power Reserve on their dials. And the fifth one was the Snowflake Hands, which hits Rob home. But yeah, these were a really, really interesting features or signatures that really do cause some conflict. I remember not really liking the helium escape valve in the Omega, the refreshed one, which became cylindrical to a cup cone conical helium escape valve. That was an issue for me. But once I did get the watch on my wrist, you kind of forget about it. So I don't really think about it anymore now that I have the Necton. The rider tabs, like I mentioned, wasn't a huge issue for me ever. I really like them, and I didn't think it was an issue for anyone else, but I suppose it is. The third one is a huge no-no for me, the Cyclops. Yeah, those those really suck. They're so ugly, and Pete called them monkey butt ugly, and I so agree. I just can't stand the Cyclops on any watch really. So I can't do it even on the Seikos that have like these huge candy bar Cyclopses now for the day and the date. Yeah, can't stand it. The fourth one, I actually like power reserves on Grand Seiko dials. They do break it up and they kind of kill the symmetry of a dial, but I feel like, especially on say the Snowflake, it tells another story. Like there's a beautiful decoration to the power reserve indicator, and it's another hand that's beautifully polished and capped. It's not just an open gaping hole, but the hand has a cap on it as well. The pinion, sorry. I really like power reserve indicators on Grand Seiko, for the most part, at least. I think it adds a bit of character to the dial. And the fifth was Snowflake Hands. I really liked how Pete talked about the Snowflake Hands, how it's an inelegant solution to a problem. I think he said it was as discreet as a punch to the face, and as elegant as a giraffe on ice skates. I actually burst out laughing on that because yeah, that was a good description. But yeah, great video, really entertaining. Great job, Pete, if you're still here. I had a blast watching that. Did you guys have a chance to catch up on that?
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I'd like to go through the list. I mean, like, because at one point in my watch collecting career, or researching watches, most of these are all actually all of these have come up.
Yeah.
I like the writer tabs. Like you, I didn't know this was really an issue. I mean, I guess I've heard some people here and there saying that they didn't care for it, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I do like how it breaks up, the symmetry of the bezel and whatnot. And you can grip him and it's good to turn the dial, whatever it is. I like the way they look. When I see like in the Avenger, I think the Avenger has them.
Yeah, I think so.
One of the lines that has, like, I just think when I see them, I think Avenger. Like, it's just a quality that particular model has, and I'm like, oh sure, yeah, that's I don't think anything of it, and I like them. The helium escape valve is a little much for me. And like he mentions, the technology is out there. It's better, that they have like the automatic valve that runs flush to the case, and so like, why wouldn't you do that? So not that it would be a deal breaker. I mean, the Seamaster, I just love the way the Seamaster looks, even with the valve. But I wish it wasn't there.
Can I actually add to that? Because I don't like the flush helium escape valves, because I think that's another spot for water ingress. And with at least the manual one, which none of us are going saturation diving, so the manual one, at least the crown is closed all the time, right? It's manually closed. It's never going to open. But with a an auto release helium release valve, I feel like that could be potential for problems. But that was just a small
aside.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Sorry for interrupting.
Cyclops, I have no issues with the Cyclops either. Like I know a lot of people hate them, and Mrs. Legs hates the Cyclops. But it just doesn't bother me. Now I've seen some bad Cyclops, right? I've seen some that are kind of been off, and I even like some of the Seiko, the pill shaped Cyclops. I don't mind them. You know, it doesn't really get me my blood boiling. I kind of like it. I love the power reserve indicator on the Grand Seikos. I have no problem with that. I know people complain about dial symmetry and it's intrusive and whatnot. It should be in the back of the movement, blah, blah, blah. I got no problem with them. And the snowflake hands, I hated the snowflake hands until I stopped hating them, and I love them. So these watch signatures are, I mean, he made a great selection and picked 5 good ones here. Like them all except for Omega. What say you, Torrin?
Yeah, I'll rapid fire go through that too, because I guess I'm going to be the odd one out with the rider tabs on Breitling. I mean, I like them. I like the tactile feel of them, but I did own a vintage Aerospace, and it was it kind of had gold signature on the dial and gold plated rider tabs. And I found that they would get caught on clothing and stuff like that, like on my sleeve. And like I was just worried about kind of like knocking or kind of damaging the finish, like the gold plating on the rider tab. So, and I found lint and stuff got caught under them. So if I was trying to do like macro shots for like a video, sometimes it was dirtier. So wasn't a huge fan. I mean, the more updated Avengers and like the Seawolf and stuff probably better suited, but for the Breitling I've owned, I mean, now I have a Super Ocean, but there's no rider tabs on that. So I'm happy with the Super Ocean just having a more traditional bezel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What was the next one? Was it?
It was
the
Omega.
Helium escape valve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it doesn't serve any function, and like, understandably, the Seamaster and Planet Ocean is only keeping it for their design language. And the most recent iteration of it, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, it's a little much for me. I do prefer a helium escape valve that's flush to the case, kind of like when I had the Tudor Pelagos. I just found it was discreet, and I don't know enough about the engineering to say it's a point of failure, to Sanjay's point, but I feel like it doesn't really come into play until you actually get to a depth where you need to release helium from the case, but I'm not an expert in that. So my preference would be not to have one or have one flush to the case. As far as the Cyclops go, I think if it suits the watch, it's good. And to Bobby's point, yeah, I've seen some bad Cyclopses, and that turns me off. Like, in the sense, like there's a Cyclops there, but it magnifies it like 1.5 times, right? So it's like, what's the point? Right. So if you're going to do a Cyclops, you got to commit to it, do it well. And I'd like to see it more on, divers or tool watches. So I'm like flexible on that. As far as the power reserve, I'm in agreement with the rest of the panel here. I love the power reserve on Grand Seikos. And it's actually one of my favorite complications. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it until I had my Grand Seiko SBGA 231. I mean, I subsequently sold it, but I love the fact that, because it had a 72-hour power reserve, you could just leave it on the dresser for a couple of days, but then you kind of know how much like gas is left in the tank. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was like a great feature. I loved having it. So yeah, big fan of that. And as far as snowflake hands go, I think they're helpful. I mean, I know some people say it's not that practical, but I really think it helps with orientation of the watch, especially in low light situations, because there's no mistaking like the snowflake hour hand and then the second hand also having kind of like that rectangle point to it. So I enjoy it in the Black Bay models and in the Pelagos. I don't mind it too much. I think it would be more of an issue with like the chronographs, because you're kind of blocking more of the subdials.
That's a good point. Yep.
But for like a 3-hander, I love it.
Yeah.
Like the Heritage Black Bays like are great for that. They're just clean watches. So
yeah, no, the little small snowflake on the second hand. I mean, it's just I like I mentioned, I hated the snowflake hands until like one day the light switched on me, and I became obsessed with them. And so much so that I got a Black Bay 58, and I got a second Black Bay 58 because I just love them so much. But anyway, let's see what the chat says, and then we'll move on to the second topic. Hey, Romy, thanks for joining us. Colin's here. I actually enjoy most signatures on watches. Breitling tabs are ugly, though. Okay, no snowflakes for Peter. BDev, Cyclops function over form. Pete is thanking you, Sanjay. Pete is the man. Okay, he is. He's the man. He's also one of them. James, I didn't think any of the signatures Pete covered were deal breakers for me. Yeah, I mean but there's definitely deal breakers for a lot of people, for sure. I agree with you, James. None of them are deal breakers for me. Actually, I still would get a Seamaster, with the valve. But I just would rather not have it. I don't know if you guys could hear some explosions going on. No views of Megan. No views of fireworks. Just big sounding dynamite sticks going off.
I actually thought I saw a flash behind you.
Oh, well, you might have. Well, I mean, or it might have been the light.
Oh.
Snowflake hands work on the Pelagos for me. Helps make the watch very legible. Cyclops, I'm ambivalent about. Okay. Let's see here what other people have to say. I was going to say Bruegel numerals, but they're Breguet anymore. Oh, so JCB might be chatting with somebody else there. A true Cyclops would place the eye in the middle of the watch face, and there must be a joke about Cyclops being the eyesore. All right. Yes, the red coats are coming, but we shall overcome. Explosions. Did you have two shakes instead of one again? Okay. All right. Moving on. Okay. So I can't quit Jeffrey McMahon. I mean, he really talks to me. I mean, with his videos, and so this week he came out with one. He was what nobody in the watch hobby is willing to admit, and it was basically he was talking about this correspondence, this letter that he got from somebody, I guess a subscriber from of his, a fan of his, and he highlighted some of the key points and phrases from the letter, and some of these just really make sense to me. And his the correspondence, the guy was like, this is wrist art basically for him, right? He likes to keep his watches, all his high-end watches, scratchless and pristine, and they rarely leaves the house. And he's a pilot, and he said most pilots that he knows and he does, they wear digitals, they wear G-Shocks, and they don't typically wear the Rolex GMT. And he only wears his watches in rare occasions when he goes out, with a wife or in a controlled environment. And he does something that I do. He wears his nice watches in the evening for a couple hours, and then he puts it back into his watch box. But there was one sentence here that Jeff pointed out that was a great sentence, and it totally makes sense. He's like, we need to accept that our watch obsession is what it is. It's a pursuit of non-essential jewelry. And we spend our money on non-essential, obsolete wrist art. We buy because we are smitten about the watches. Now, there's some watches. So like when I got my Tudor Black Bay 58, it was I waited for 8 or 9 months for it, and I finally got it. Now I've had it for about 2 years, but for a good long time, like I was very, very careful with that watch. I wore it, but it was always in a controlled environment. If I did anything physical or anything I had to do like landscaping wise on the property, like I wouldn't wear it. And then eventually it got nicked up a little bit, just a little bit. And it's like, okay, I wear my watches now. Like there's a part of me that wears my watches, but then there's a couple of watches where I just, like my 2 dress watches, I just wear for a couple hours every evening, and then I put it in the box, and I don't go out with them. I mean, I have no occasion to go out with them, so I treat them like wrist art, like pristine wrist art. So I get what this guy is saying, but I don't think I'm as obsessive about keeping them clean. And then Jeff was like, in his opinion, he said that between the $800 and $1,200 range is a sweet spot. He's like, it's not so expensive that you have to hide these watches in that sweet spot, but they have enough attention to detail. And I see what he's saying, and I feel like he's right about that. The sweet spot could be different for everybody, right? His is 800 to 1,200. Mine might be, I don't know, 500 to 800, or 1,500 to 2,500. But there is a sweet spot where I feel like these watches are tool watches, but there's an attention to detail to it that make them that much nicer. What say you guys? Do you guys find any identification with Jeff here and his subscriber?
Go ahead, Torin.
Okay. Yeah, so I watched the video, and I do like, I don't know, I just like the way he talks candidly to the camera. Although it's funny because I haven't, I've seen a few of his older videos, and to me it's always like, I don't know, similar approach. Like, he's got the black t-shirt, he's got the tuna on the wrist, and I think he talks about things from an emotional standpoint, which it's interesting, because you're right. Like, I feel like not enough people talk about watches that way. They talk more about the spec sheet and things. So I actually resonated a lot with what his subscriber was saying, because I actually reflected on it afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of do the same thing with my higher end pieces. Like, I feel like some of them, like my Rolex Explorer, they're tool watches, but do I go out and do really active things, or things where I think will cause it to get scratched up? Not really. Although if you think about the purpose of those watches back in the day, they were, task oriented watches. So yeah, I do feel like, for me, and I think maybe for all of us being YouTubers, I always consider too the potential resale value. So I do treat my watches a little more gingerly. Out of all the dive watches I've owned, I think I've only taken 2 actually in the water at my cottage. Yeah. It's crazy, right? But I mean, I do like, just having something with a screw down crown, and it's parenthetically, it'll be more durable. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting video, and I think he's right. To me, I do romanticize some of the watches, especially with Grand Seiko too. I feel like when you get a Grand Seiko, it is like a piece of art, kind of, because it's the attention to detail that kind of, I don't think anything the Swiss can put out can match it, unless you're going up way above the price tier. So it's just, to me, it's just a phenomenal work of art. So yeah, if that was an interesting video. I tend to agree with him, but I don't like to admit it. But I also tell myself, to me, there's always get more content. I'm always also trying to keep my watches in good condition if I'm going to flip them. And now I have a few keeper watches. The watches that I think I know are going to stay in the collection, then, I'll wear them and abuse them a little bit more. But some of them I just know, they're not going to stay in forever, so I want to keep it in good condition.
Yeah, well, I actually felt like this video was kind of off base for once from Jeff. I almost said Rob, but from from Jeff. I feel like a lot of watch enthusiasts actually do admit these things. Actual watch enthusiasts. And he mentioned a lot of them, as a sort of status symbol. I know for a lot of watch enthusiasts, they're really not status symbols, right? For most of us, and everyone, I've chatted with over the past few years, really, these aren't status symbols to us. These are literally, art, jewelry, and we do admit that. At least I found that. Maybe I'm an outlier, but I feel like this was something that we all kind of did admit. But at the same time, For me, I found, to each his own, I suppose, but I found this incredibly sad. The story that Jeff McMahon was telling about this gentleman, and maybe he's not sad. Maybe
Yeah.
this is what he likes, and that's great. But I pictured myself in that position, and I was almost depressed. So I would think, I've spent so much money on a piece, and I get to spend 2 hours a day with it.
Yeah.
That just sounds gut wrenching. I want to spend as much time with these timepieces as possible. So I, I even, I find it hard. The reason why I find it hard to go back, uh, I mean, it can be done, and I am doing it, like in going back down the ladder, so to speak, is because I want, my money's worth out of the bigger pieces, and in a sense, it just seems really really heartbreaking to not wear, say, my Speedmaster or my Seamaster or my Grand Seikos. I can't imagine it. And there was a time where scratches really hurt, and scratches were unacceptable to me, mainly because of my past as a car detailer. I used to keep my vehicles pristine and polished, no orange peel, nothing like that, and that had to kind of come out of me. Um, and I think the watch that really helped me get past that was the Snowflake, because it scratched so easily. The Grand Seiko Snowflake helped me overcome the fear of scratches. And now, I see scratches on, say, my Grand Seiko um, two-tone 44 GS, and I think, yeah, there's a scratch. There's a new
Yeah.
scratch. Oh well, that's great. I kind of say, I probably put that scratch in when I was cleaning it, and I shouldn't have done that. But I only think about it for a couple of seconds, and then I, go on my merry way, enjoying the look at the watch, and yeah, just being so afraid to wear it and only wearing it in a very controlled environment just seems really, really sad for me. But hey, if that makes that guy happy, then that's great. I'm happy for the guy.
Yeah.
But that was hard for me.
I think why I'm attracted to Jeff's videos is because I always feel challenged at the end of most of them. Like, why am I collecting? Am I really a collector? It gets me to the edge where, like, it makes me try to rationalize and justify a collection where I have some watches that I wear more than others. And so, should I have that big of a collection, 8 watches right now currently, when I probably only wear 3 or 4 most of the time, and a couple of them I wear for only a couple hours, and they're wrist art and whatnot. It's almost like it makes me. It's almost like I've never skydived before, but I could imagine like the thrill and the potential finality of jumping off skydiving and the risk, and it makes you maybe kind of rethink. Some people that I've known that skydive, like, afterwards, they almost like rethink their lives, because I guess maybe, even though it's a semi-controlled environment, mostly controlled environment, there is a chance of, like, death. Now, this is kind of strange comparing my watch collecting to that, but it almost makes me think, like, what am I doing? And I almost get to the edge where, like, I'm questioning myself, and then I inevitably, you know pull the tag, and the parachute goes off, and I'm like, okay, no, 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 I like my watches, I like my collection, I like doing this, but I need to, every once in a while, be reminded of, like, what the hell am I doing? Because these things cost money, and so there is potential consequences, with that, with spending. I don't overspend, and I spend what I have. Again, I don't go into debt, which is great, thankfully. um but but it just makes me rethink, and it's crazy because we're talking about, like, a watch video that makes me rethink, like, you know what I mean. Yeah, anyway. um Bongo Nutty says Rolexes don't need to be babied as much now that they have ceramic bezels. Look, I have a buddy who is a watchmaker for Rolex, and he said, and this is before they started putting ceramic bezels. He's like, Rolex watches are meant to be worn every day, and they can handle it. So agreed. Justin saying something insanely cool to me about someone with a luxury watch that wears it absolutely the hell out of it. Yeah, it is absolutely cool. Yeah, I get that for sure as well. This just jumped on me here. Pete is saying, I really struggled understanding Jeff until I figured out he wasn't talking about me. I never considered watches as anything but jewelry, and I love my watches, like me, to have a few battle scars. William is saying, Bobby, you need to set your watches free. I will. I will set them free.
As in sell them all.
Yeah. Well, no, but not that. But I will set them free. I will let them breathe out of the box. I'm gonna make a point out of it. Okay. Let's see here. Watch angst. Should I wear a watch and be happy about it? Watch habit. Life is too short. Wear and enjoy your watch instead of yes, agreed. Jeff was talking about my habits with my top watches. He does talk when he talks. Sometimes I feel like he is talking directly to me. He's got that weird look with his eyes. Jeff saying, I keep all my watches pristine because it is a gesture of appreciation for the watch and the money spent on it, even if it's a plastic Casio. Jeff, yes, I totally agree now. I forget everything I said. You're absolutely right. Until I read another comment that changes my mind. Oh, man. Let's see here. Anything else, guys? Okay, before we go into the next topic. Man.
I feel like that's such a great comment from James, but I feel there's a really fine line where you take care of everything that you have because you're grateful for them, and then having a piece about damage that does inevitably happen to them.
Mm-hmm.
So being ever so slightly disconnected to be able to take that damage and have peace about it.
Yeah. Watches. I'm more. There's some watches in my collection that I'm more willing to let damage happen to than others. That's what it comes down to. Watches are meant to be worn. Only kept what you wear often, and only keep what you wear often and really enjoy it. Life is too short to wear a watch you feel obligated to give wrist time to. Thank you, Colin. Daniel says he covers his watches with tennis wristbands to protect against scratches. Okay. All right, so let's hit up that final topic. This is the one that Torn selected. WatchChris 5 future iconic watches. My top 5 watches that will be future icons. Torn, take it away.
Okay, well, I have to admit, actually, after picking this video, I actually looked at what Sanjay picked for this week, and there's a bit of overlap. It's actually interesting. I think it's a good transition because as opposed to saying kind of like, I guess, signatures that might annoy people, by some measures, those signatures have also solidified those watches as classics. So some of the watches that WatchChris mentioned in this video, and I think he's in the chat now, so I have to remember them all, but they overlap quite well. And I think we should kind of start with those ones. So, I mean, first and foremost was the Rolex Submariner. It did have a Cyclops on it. One of the first diving watches out there. And yeah, it was kind of interesting because I think in the video, WatchChris mentioned, if you think of a dive watch, that's the one that just comes to mind. I think it's so ingrained into people, and not just in the watch enthusiast community, but just from marketing and, throughout history. It's, James Bond original watch kind of thing. So yeah, I thought that was a good pick actually, because I didn't really even think I have blinders on sometimes as a watch enthusiast, and I don't really consider necessarily what pop culture reference or people outside the norm think, but probably the Submariner comes to mind for a lot of people when they think of a dive watch. One of the other ones that also overlapped from Sanjay's pick was the Grand Seiko Snowflake. I just think that's probably the Grand Seiko that most people, like when they first wanted to see what a Grand Seiko was and how it differentiated itself from Seiko, like that's the watch you would look at, and just the finishing on that was just amazing. It had spring drive. So yeah, I tend to agree with it. It had the power reserve indicator on it as well. I'm just trying to remember what other ones were there. The ones that kind of stood out to me, actually, and I'll talk about the ones that we haven't discussed already. One was more of a tool watch, and it's a watch that I didn't even really, wasn't even on my radar. I think it was a Porsche design chronograph, and it was it was the first watch that had PVD or DLC coating on it, I guess, which just made it, a little more scratch resistant and a little more durable. And I thought it was interesting with the connection with Porsche because they kind of decided to innovate that themselves as opposed to wait for like another, like a partner watch, like a watch brand or someone else to kind of come up with that idea. They just went ahead and did it. So that was kind of cool. The other watch was I think it was the AP Royal Oak, Giargento design, and the integration, like having integrated bracelet, and how that kind of really popularized having integrated bracelets, not just for that era, but even if you look at now more modern watches, I think that's becoming more trendy, and people are trying to go with the integrated bracelet look a lot more. So that was I guess a future icon in its own right for sure. And then last but not least was the Seiko Skx, which, I mean, again, another classic dive watch, but I thought it was cool because it's like the one most people would like if you're getting into watches. That's you kind of cut your teeth on the Seikos. And what I really enjoyed, not just with him talking about how it was an icon, if you look at all the B-roll that he was showing for Seiko Skx throughout that, it was really interesting because it was just Seiko's like getting destroyed or like going through really harsh environments throughout the whole video. Like I think he was throughout the narrative, like one guy had a pot of boiling water and there's a Seiko Skx in it, and then someone else just like threw it in the freezer and it was like in an ice block, and then someone was like repeatedly running over it with his Tesla and it was like still ticking and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed just the B-roll footage on that, to be honest. But yeah, did you guys get a chance to check it out, and what did you think?
Sanjay?
Yeah. I really like that he defined what an icon was. I think Rob and we talked about a previous video about icons, and Federico, and he just went into icons, and I was like, what even is an icon? We should probably try to define that. And I appreciated that WatchChris started off with the definition of what an icon is, something that you think about when you speak of a specific genre or a brand, I think. So that was good because you can have so many different definitions. But I found it interesting how much Porsche Design's brand was damaged by Pagani Design, because as soon as I saw Porsche Design, I instantly thought Pagani Design, and I sneered. I was just like, oh. And and I was like, oh no, it's Porsche Design. It's actually a good brand. It's a fashion brand, but kind of like I kind of associate it with Bulgari and Cartier. So yeah, I've heard some rumblings about Pagani Design being sued by Pagani, the supercar manufacturer, because of that as well. And I've heard of some rebranding. I'm not too sure about that, coming from Pagani Design. But what a travesty that Porsche Design's brand has been so damaged, at least for me, by Pagani Design. But anyway, I agree with a lot of what he was saying. I'm not sure if I agree with the Porsche Design. I don't think it's a big deal that, at least me personally, I don't think it was a big deal that they were the first to PVD code a watch. It doesn't really make or break anything for me. And it was kind of a generic chronograph, if I'm not mistaken, Valjoux 7750 base. But thinking of the Snowflake, I think the Snowflake is probably the first Grand Seiko you think of, but
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of almost a shame because there's so many different Grand Seikos that you could look to. So maybe the white
From the
birch will
Grand
take the
Seiko
crown.
expert.
I mean, the Snowflake is great, it's beautiful. I'd be happy to own one, but there's just more out there when it comes to Grand Seiko. But it really is the icon of Grand Seiko. But yeah, other than that, I really don't have much to add to what you mentioned, Torin. So, Bobby, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Grand Seiko Snowflake, for me, that's like their flagship, iconic piece, future icon for sure. You're right. There are other Grand Seikos, and I think if you're a Grand Seiko fan, that's like the first thing you'll say. Yes, there are other Grand Seikos out there, but me as a Grand Seiko, one who's curious, who wasn't so curious until recently, the Snowflake is exactly the watch that I think of when it's Grand Seiko. Just the beauty of the dial, the sweeping hand of the spring drive, the finishing of the hands and whatnot. I mean, that's what I think of when I think Grand Seiko. He also mentioned Tudor and the Black Bay 58, and because of
Oh,
the
right.
size of the 58, the 39 millimeter case diameter, that makes it wearable for a whole lot of other people. I mean, look, the Black Bay line itself is the Tudor line, especially here in North America. It's almost like it's Black Bay 58 by Tudor, not Tudor Black Bay 58. And I, as a proud owner of one, it's the favorite watch in my collection. There's other watches now that I have are that are kind of battling for that distinction in my collection. But I mean, I love the Black Bay 58. It's perfect. The snowflake hands. Speaking of snowflake, I just love the gilt, the dial, the way it fits. I don't mind the bracelet has faux rivets. I don't mind that at all. It's not a big deal for me. It's just the comfort level of that watch is awesome. It's more of a dress diver in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't necessarily take it out in the ocean with me or dive. Not that I would dive. Anyway, that's not something that I'm want to do. Maybe that will change one day. I don't know. But I mean, that's not. I'll take this watch over the Black Bay 58 for a real dive. But it's a dressy diver, and you can dress it up. It's very versatile. I love that watch, and I think it is an icon, or will be an icon anyway, in the Tudor collection as time goes on. Uh, I'm with you, Sanjay, on the Porsche design. Having the first black PVD, that's not really, um, doesn't blow wind up my skirt. You know what I mean? I'm not really. It's not my thing. I'm sure it is for some people. I know a lot of people love that black PVD look. So for them, it's iconic. For me, it's not that big of a deal. And he was referring to also. He referred to the IWC Ingenieur as a future icon, which is interesting because IWC, I mean, you have the Portugueser, you have the Big Pilot. There's a lot of icons already in that brand. I love the Engineer. It's actually my favorite model, IWC. I think it's because I like that integrated look of the not of the and the octagonish, the Genta-ish design case. I know it's transitioning back to its older roots, but the ingeneurs of the last couple of years are really awesome, and I would love to own one of those one day. And the Seiko Skx, yeah, I mean, it's an icon. I mean, it's a modding icon. It's an affordable diver icon. It's your first automatic watch getting into the hobby icon. Just a great watch. For what it is. I'll keep it at that. Wolfgang, maybe the Octo, yes, Bulgari Octo, the Octo Finissimo, definitely. At least for Bulgari, it's an icon, right? And just because of the shape, yeah. I mean, down the road, I think it'll definitely be considered an icon because of its uniqueness, right? Good pick there, Wolfgang. Let's see here, and what else anybody else has to say. The Black Bay is almost unknown outside the watch geek community. It needs to break out before becoming a real con. Yeah, and I think in time that will happen. You know, um, theoretically, Moser could become an icon out of their dial look. Also, hard stretch. Yeah, yeah. I hear you. How about the Cartier driver as a future icon? Good looking watch. I don't know. I mean, there's so many. When I think of Cartier, I think of Tank. I think of Santos. There's so many other Cartiers that I think of before I get to the driver. Good looking watch though, for sure. Pete is saying, well, the Submariner is probably already there. Yep. Let's take a look at other stuff here. I think the IWC is a sleeper, really. I like it. I like it, but I just think it's just tough when you have a bunch of other icons in the brand. Because when you say IWC, oh, Portuguese or Big Pilot, you have to go down a couple before you start thinking Engineer, for sure. Yeah, Speedmaster. I would say Speedmaster already is an icon. The video is more about future icon. So for sure. Yeah, Type 20, of course, true icon. Agreed. Any other ones, guys, that you could think of that maybe Chris left out? I mean, he only picked 5, and maybe you thought of more, but is there any other watches out there that you would consider an icon?
The Panamatic Lunar.
Oh, yeah, for Geo.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I think Suta, I think Panamatic Lunar. So
yeah.
What do you think, Bobby? I'll ask you because you're like the expert on German watches. What do you think about the Zin 556?
Yeah, I mean, look, when I think of Zin, I mean, I love the 556. When I think of Zin, for many enthusiasts now, especially people getting into the hobby, like I think 104, right? I think that's the first. I think the 104 is the gateway to the Zin watch collection, and maybe if you're getting into German watch collection as a whole, 556 is a great piece, especially if you're looking for a little bit, something that is more versatile in the sense that it can be dressed up a little bit, for sure. I mean, I could see that. I could see that as a future icon as well. The U50, I think I could see as a future icon just because it fits a lot of risks.
I think the U1 would probably stand out more.
U1, but I think U1 might be already at that iconic level. So like future icon, I think U50 just because of the size, right? Just like almost like the Black Bay 58 has the size that fits many more wrists out there. But almost like the U1 and the U50 are almost like the same. I would almost lump them up together, right? So maybe just the U1 or U50 together, I would lump up as icons or future icons. But yeah, I mean, 556 for sure has that potential. What anything pops into your mind, Torn? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I mean, I'm just figured.
I think like Seiko, like they've kind of upped a lot of their reissues. I don't know, like the Captain Willard seems to be pretty popular right now.
Coolio. Well, we're at 10:03. I know I have a day off tomorrow because of the holiday, but I still like to get to bed early, because I'm an old man. Sanjay, what do you got going on this week, man? Anything coming out?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be doing a live stream at around noon with Shaluso tomorrow. So,
nice.
Yeah,
you've done streams with him before, right?
Yeah, I have. So tomorrow on his channel, he invited me. So gonna have a good time probably.
I'm gonna try to catch that. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Other than that, I Saturday night stream as usual next week. Yeah, I think that's about it. I might be doing something with Clayton for the Watchdog podcast. So
awesome, nice. Yeah, I've been on his podcast a couple of times. It's awesome. Yeah. He's really great at that. Wolfgang, you're definitely a legend. Any man who can eat 3 whole chickens in one sitting twice a week. That's just impressive. Back in I know it was back in the day, but still very impressive. Torn, Everyday Watch Guy. Please check out his channel. I have a link in the description. What do you got going on, man? Do you have anything? You're doing streams on Fridays too, right? Is that a consistent thing? I know you've done it a couple
not
times lately.
consistent. It's just worked out the last couple of Fridays, or I guess it was last Thursday because it was Canada Day last time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I'm starting to get into streaming. It's actually largely thanks to both of you guys. So being on your
yeah,
stream.
man, do it.
Yeah.
It's fun. And one of the great parts is interacting with the chat is also very funny. And Sanjay and I have had some really funny moments while we've been doing this stream.
Yeah. And the chat is great actually. Being part of the Discord and stuff's really great. So I appreciate getting to know people that way. So I'll try and do some more streams in the future, and I'll be doing an upcoming review. I'll probably be reviewing the Helios Fairwind that I picked up.
Oh yeah. Those are hard watches to come by, man. Helios.
Yeah, it's surprising. They have a cult following. They tend to sell out pretty quick. I was able to pick one up from a fellow Canadian watch enthusiast on one of the forums that we have in Canada. So that was cool, and it's a good substitute. I have the blue dial version, and to me, it's very comparable to like a Black Bay 58 navy blue.
Oh, cool.
More comfortable. Both Sanjay and I had the navy blue, and then we both sold it within like a week of each other. So
I also had the navy blue too.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah. So I'll be doing that, and then some point this month, hopefully, I'll be trying to do a giveaway for my channel because I surpassed 5,000 subscribers.
Congrats, man!
Yeah.
That's awesome. 5,000, and Sanjay, you just passed 3,000. That's
We're
awesome,
about
guys.
to pass 2,000.
Hopefully, any day now, one of these days. But
I have to do a giveaway.
It's a big milestone.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be doing the giveaway. I'll be doing it.
Nice. Yeah, so that's it for me. Thanks.
Yep. Do you have an Instagram too that you want to plug? I only had your YouTube link in the description.
Yeah, you can plug my Instagram. It's EverydayWatchGuy as well on Instagram.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, chat, thank you for sticking around. I know holiday for most of you guys here, and you're watching fireworks, but you're watching us, and that's really awesome. And everybody around the world who watches our humble show, I'm very, very grateful. I know Sanjay is very grateful too. And Torrin, again, thanks, man. Come anytime. You're more than welcome. Had a great time tonight, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Bye, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.